So in this video, we're going to continue looking at Photoshop's filters. And in the previous video, we took a look at the filter gallery. And in other videos, we've taken a look at the offset filter as well as the liquify filter. But this time we're going to be taking a look at some of these other categories found here. Again, there's a lot of filters, and to be quite honest, I haven't explored them all, but it is worthwhile to find images and just explore and experiment and have fun with these different filters and see what they do. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few of these filters now. So I have this image of a maple leaf here with some nice colors on it. And let's take a look at some of the different filters we've got. So first thing we'll do is look at some of these blur filters. And as you can see, there's a number of different types of blur filters. But I'm going to just pick one of them to take a look at. And we could try, for instance, this one, which is quite useful. And as you can see, it does what you would expect. It blurs the image or the layer, and we can adjust how much it blurs. We can bring down the blur. We can increase the blur. And when you settle on the level of blur that you want, you simply say OK. And it will apply that filter to your image. Now I'm going to undo that so that we can take a look at some other filters. We've got some additional options for blurring our image. I'm going to go to Filter, and this time instead of going to Blur, we'll go to the Blur Gallery, and you see we've got 5 different options here. I may be doing a video on Tilt Shift on this filter on another occasion, so I'm not going to talk about that one now. But let's try out the Spin Blur. So you can see with the spin blur, we get this manipulator with some handles here, and we can increase the area that's affected, and we can further adjust this filter with these options over here to the right. We've got our spin blur, blur angle, which we can increase or decrease. And then when we're ready, we can simply apply it by pressing Enter on your keyboard. Once again, I'm going to undo this change, however, because we'll take a look at some other filters. So some other filters that we can look at are found here in Distort. These are a lot of fun to play around with, to explore, to try them out. I recommend, again, just having fun with it. Find an image and just try applying lots and lots of different filters and seeing what they do. We can pick one of these and take a look at it. For instance, let's try out the Twirl Filter. I'm going to zoom out in here so you can see what it's doing as I work with this angle property here. And you can see that it spins, it puts this distortion on the image, which we can fine tune and adjust according to our needs, and then apply. Moving on, we can take a look at noise. We've got a bunch of different options here, but we'll just try the add noise. And if I apply that, you'll see that it adds this graininess, this quality of graininess in here. We've got 2 different options for how we create that graininess. And once again, you can, of course, increase or decrease it according to your needs. Now on to Pixelate. We've got some really fun options here. Let's take a look at a couple of these. We can try Pointillize. And we can change the cell size here if we want, and apply. There's also the mosaic. Which, as you can see, in this case makes it look more pixelated. And we have Crystallize. Now, the filters here under Render, most of these work a little differently than the filters that we've been looking at up to this point. The thing to keep in mind with those filters is that they depend on the colors that you currently are using for, let's say, your foreground and background. I'm going to change these to something, we'll change it to black and red so you can get a better sense of what's happening with these. And what I'll do is I'll go to Filter, Render, and we'll try the Render Clouds. And you'll see that it created this, this kind of cloud filter here. It hasn't really adjusted the image itself. What it's done is applied cloud, the cloud filter to the layer using the foreground and background color. So this is a very different filter than some of the other ones in that it hasn't actually altered the image itself. In fact, if you look at some of the other filters there, they'll act very similarly, such as this fibers filter, which gives us something a little more like this. These could be very wonderful for creating textural quality for things, or perhaps making bump maps, that kind of thing, but they don't actually change the image itself. One filter in there, however, that does change the image would be the lens flare filter. We'll take a quick look at that. You can see what that does. With this, I can place a fake lens flare in here. And apply. And we get something like that. Again, this can be one of those types of filters that I think runs the risk of being a bit gimmicky. It's very interesting and neat looking, but I would be cautious about actually using it. Now, earlier we looked at some of the features for blurring a layer. Here we can sharpen. Now, to actually see what's happening here, let's go ahead and zoom in on an area so that we can get a better sense of it. And what I'm going to do is go to Filter, Sharpen, and we'll try the Sharpen filter. And I hope that you saw that. It kind of sharpened things a bit. We can try another one here. We'll go to the Filter, Sharpen, Sharpen More. And I think that's much more apparent what happened there. You can see that it's just kind of sharpened things up. Now, this isn't really a way necessarily of taking a blurry image and making it sharp. However, if you do need to maybe define some areas more, sharpen them, it might be a valuable filter to use. I'm going to undo that. Some other filters that we'll take a look at are here under Stylize. A lot of these, again, are ones that I would use cautiously because they do run the risk of appearing more like a gimmick than anything. But let's take a look at a couple of them. We could take a look at Emboss, for example, or Extrude. Stylize. Again, play around with them with all the different filters and check them out and see what they do. So that's a quick run through of some of these filters that you can utilize in Photoshop. Thank you for watching.